As you may know, I have a live stream with Tactica Imperialis coming out later today, but before that, we all got some really exciting news this morning, or rather last night, and that is that Games Workshop previewed 8th edition rules at Adepticon. And so I figured, hey, we could take a look at those rules. Brand spanking new. They didn't give us concrete rules, they gave us some conceptual stuff, and so I want to go through those and kind of talk a little bit about that. And then they also gave us some teasers for the next codex to come out, Codex Death Guard. So if you're interested in Death Guard, if you're interested in Nurgle, if you're interested in Chaos, or you just like cool models, stick around to the very end because we're going to be talking about that too. So first things first, let's go into those rules though. Let's see what they were saying might be in the 8th edition codex, things that they're kind of tinkering around with. Now they also released a video where Duncan goes into the testing laboratory to see how the rules are going, and that's pretty funny. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below, but that's just all fun and games, literally, I suppose. But more interesting are the actual content that they're thinking about incorporating into 8th edition, which they said should be within the next year or so, should be in time for the next Adepticon, so maybe that's going to be like a June or July release. I heard that date floating around, but I wasn't able to figure out where it came from, so June or July for 8th edition perhaps. But the first thing is that there are 3 ways to play, right? And we'll just go through and read each one of these so you guys get the full gist of it. It says 3 ways to play. The General's Handbook has been one of the most popular rule supplements we've ever released. Who'd have thought letting people choose how they want to play their games and giving them a clear way to do that would be so popular? It's pretty clear from talking to a number of event organizers that Warhammer 40,000 would benefit from the same approach. So we'll soon be introducing the same 3 ways to play: open, narrative, and match play to the 41st millennium. Now, I mean, yeah, the General's Handbook is one of their most popular products, but that's because the game doesn't work without it, at least not in a balanced way or a competitive way, right? So I don't know how how good of a indicator that is that that's the direction that they should go. I mean, it certainly seems like it makes sense from a business standpoint that they were able to make more money that way, but I'm happy just having a core rule book and not needing the General's Handbook that parses things out in different ways and kind of band-aids a system that wouldn't work otherwise. But sure, having 3 ways to play, that sounds great. And in a lot of ways, we already have that. We have open play, which is Unbound. We have narrative play, which is the Altar of War mission that you find in a lot of codex and supplements. And then match play is just the normal format with points and formations and that sort of thing. So, you know, we'll probably just see some embellishment on that structure, which is fine. The next one is army selection. One of the things that comes up a lot is the idea that people should be rewarded for taking thematic armies. It's a sentiment we agree with, and so we're looking at introducing command points, a mechanism to reward players who structure their armies like their in-world counterparts with rerolls and cool army-specific rules throughout the game. So this is a little bit like some of the Age of Sigmar stuff, and that's kind of a trend that we'll see throughout these rule sets, is that they are very Age of Sigmar-y, which if you saw my Age of Sigmar video that I did a little bit ago last week, I think, that you know that I like some of those things. So that's fine, and I like that. I do think that there should be more of an emphasis on taking thematic armies. You know, I don't like the like the Tyranid Chaos combo or you know, anything like that. So I think having a reward for playing fluffier armies is cool, because half the reason that I play the game, if not more, is because I like the idea of what's on the tabletop. I like the miniatures, I like the painting, I like the models, I like how I imagine them interacting in my head, more so than just the mechanics of rolling dice and measuring and moving models around on a tabletop. The actual concept, the cinematic narrative that's playing out in my mind is more compelling, and that's the thing that gets me in between games, right? That's the thing that gets me excited. So if they're gonna help bring that excitement that I have in between games onto the tabletop. That sounds awesome. All right, movement. We think that the move value should come back. No more default unit types. Every model should have cool, bespoke rules. Not only would that be more fun, but it will mean you only need to learn the rules for your models. So that's cool. Again, they're moving it towards the war scroll format that we see from Age of Sigmar, where everybody has their rules self-contained within that unit entry. You don't need to go look at universal special rules as much, and that's something that we are expecting from the next edition of 40k, is a drastic reduction in the universal special rules and having unit-specific rules expanded or at least streamlined. So that makes sense. I'm cool with that. I do like the idea that you can specialize movement for different units. That gives us a lot more options in terms of creating unique models and unique unit types and unique gameplay. So I like that. That sounds cool. I agree that you only need to know the rules for your individual models that you have, but if you want to play competitively, if you want to know what to expect, you'll need to know other people's rules, and that makes it harder. This makes it harder to do that, and so it complicates a competitive gameplay setting to some extent, because you are adding more rules. And now that's kind of not a very strong argument right now, just because they're producing rules at such a rate that you couldn't keep up on them anyway, so who cares, I guess. But still, it complicates things a little bit more. But again, I think overall that's probably a good thing. I think it probably makes this more interesting and more fun and more fluffy and engaging. So cool. Shooting, armor save modifiers. This topic comes up almost as often as Sisters of Battle. Haha, that's so funny, Games Workshop. Yeah, all right, almost as often as Sisters of Battle. So we're going to bring them back. Every weapon will have its place in your army and better represent how you imagine them working in your head. Okay, cool. So basically, instead of having an AP value, they're going to have a rending value or a armor reduction value, like they did in Fantasy and do in Age of Sigmar. And I guess that's fine. That's cool. I think, again, that does offer a little bit more opportunity for specialization and using diverse weapons instead of just trying to get the AP2 or AP1 or the D. You always got to try to get the D, guys. But if this is moving more towards like a -1 modifier, -2 modifier, that means that no matter what, even if your weapon would typically be AP6 and now it's just a -1 modifier, that still means that you're getting a benefit from it when you're shooting an armor 2 thing as opposed to an armor 6 thing. So I think that's good. I like that. That sounds good. It sounds like it makes more weapons viable, which is something that we want. Combat phase. Charging units should fight first. It's just more thematic. So we're hoping to work this out as well. It will reward tactically outmaneuvering your opponent. You can dictate the combats rather than being entirely initiative-based. You control who swings first. And I think that's also cool, because, yeah, it makes sense that the dude going in there first gets to punch first. So, great. But at the same time, I mean, I thought you were already rewarded for outmaneuvering your opponent because the movement phase is such a big deal. Your positioning is such a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I guess, I'm curious how much this is actually going to influence the outcome of close combat, right? Because in some cases, like if I charge a unit with a low initiative unit and fight a high initiative unit that's close combat oriented, it's going to win absolutely. But if we take this mechanic into play and now I'm striking first with that low initiative unit, maybe that gives me upper hand. Yeah, maybe that's the way to go. Maybe that helps balance it out so it's not so much a determined outcome before you even roll the dice, which in a lot of ways it is already. So all right, yeah, cool. Guys, I'm just thinking through this right now with you too. So yeah, I think that sounds good, right? It gives low initiative or otherwise disadvantaged units in close combat some sort of advantage and incentive to enter close combat because you can get the upper hand just by charging. And that sounds cool. I can get on board with that. Morale. It's no longer all or nothing, and it affects everyone. We're thinking of replacing break test with a simple mechanic. Roll a d6. Add that to the number of miles your unit lost this turn, subtract your leadership, and take that many additional casualties. So it's unclear to me if they're saying that units aren't going to flee at all, or if they're just going to lose units. And that's how it works in Age of Sigmar, right? As you take Battle Shock and you lose units, you lose models from the unit, but it doesn't actually run away. Just you lose guys, and that's also fine. I can be fine with that, but I think that would also that really disadvantages MSU, right? Multiple small unit strategies or armies that have few models in them, unless they introduce some sort of rule that counteracts that or nullifies that. So it'd be really, if I want to have a unit of 5 fire warriors and one of them survives a round of shooting or something like that, the other 4 die, he's absolutely going to die because I'm going to roll a die, and yeah, he's going to be done. Whereas under the current rule said he might still stick around. So it certainly penalizes small model count units and small model count armies to a certain extent, assuming that those armies have multiple units and not just one big unit type of thing. So yeah, maybe that's a good advantage for Orc players and Tyranid players that may not have been able to kind of play this Horde army before. I really don't think Genestealer cults need the boost, but sure, we'll go with it. I think that works out. And hey, also it gives us the opportunity to have small unit or small model count units that have high leadership persist even when they may not otherwise. So one of the banes of my existence is having like a crisis suit unit with a commander in it, and then they lose a drone and run off the board. This mechanic would make that less likely, I think. So yeah, I can deal with that. That sounds good. So yeah, overall, some good changes. I think that they're streamlining the process in a way that will make it more palatable and easy to pick up and playable. That sounds good to me. But it really will just come down to how they actually enact that. You could imagine that they do this really poorly and just kind of hack and slash and don't really fully realize the concept. And that would be poor, but I don't think that they'll do that. I think they'll deliver a high quality product, and I think we should be excited about this. So, fingers crossed for an awesome summer of gaming based on this new information. Okay, cool. So that's the 8th edition rules concepts that they showcased at Adepticon. Let's talk about Nurgle. So they released a video today looking at some of the new Nurgle models, some of the new Death Guard models, and so that's what this guy is. It's just a screen capture from their Death Guard video, and it looks awesome. Just really, really cool. I just love that aesthetic, and I especially love just the horns and the decay and everything coming off of this is just perfect. And that's one of the reasons why Nurgle is one of the coolest armies that you can play. But then at the very end of the video, they had this little teaser here, and it's very exciting. So we have Magnus, we have Reboot. And so we have 2 Primarchs, and now we're going to get our 3rd, Mortarion. And that is consistent with what happened with Gathering Storm 3. Mortarion knew that Reboot was resurrected and freaked out about it, so he's coming to wreak some havoc. There will be havoc upon people, and it will be in the form of plagues from Mortarion. And that's what this image suggests. And the reason why I'm saying that, of course, is because it's a scythe. It's a plague scythe. But if we look at the 30K model of Mortarion, we can see his scythe there, which, yeah, I mean, if you didn't know who Mortarion is, this is who he is. And if we compare those two scythes, they're, you know, the same scythe. One's just warpified. One's demonized, demonified. I don't know. Domesticated. We'll go with that. But you can see it has the same kind of spherical inlay and the little kind of joint or tube that goes along the blade there. So I'm almost certain that it's Mortarion. I suppose it could just be some other special unit type or demon prince or something like that, but come on, it's got to be Mortarion, right? And maybe there's something in the fluff that I don't know that would make that unlikely, but you know. So yeah, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think it's Mortarion. So yeah, there's that. All right. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, whether it's about the Death Guard stuff or the new rules. Like I said, I'm excited about the new rules. I think that they'll be fun. At least they'll be fun. I don't know how balanced they'll be, but they will be fun, I think. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and of course, happy wargaming.